Welcome, Dr. Ratey, and thank you for speaking with us today. Endominance is lucky not only to know you personally, but to also work with you. For over 2 years, you've been a board member and advisor at Endominance, but you're also working with us as a principal investigator on various research projects, which is really exciting. But before we begin our discussion today, your book, Spark, was so influential in the discussion of the importance of movement and training of both the brain and the body. Unfortunately, physicians still look at exercise as an alternative therapy when it comes to disease or illness, and not as actual clinical intervention for disorders. So my first question today is, how do you feel exercise can be used prescriptively by health professionals? For example, how does it help treat depression and anxiety?
Well, we know through evidence that exercise is a great treatment for both anxiety and depression, the two major mental illnesses or mental emotional problems that are with us in this world today, especially post-COVID, when we have so much anxiety and so much depression and suicide amongst our people. We must come to grips with this. And what the practitioners need to know is that exercise is not just a way of saying, oh, well, yeah, you should exercise like everybody because of the effect on the body, the effect on the brain, the effect on mood, but we have evidence. And whether or not it's ever going to come to the point of successfully being prescriptive, to say, okay, you have anxiety, you have to do 40 minutes, 3 times a week of this kind of exercise, jump rope or running or walking or doing push-ups or doing 7-minute exercise, whatever, going to yoga, doing Tai Chi. That's a long way off because people have tried it, but not been successful. The Quebec province made that as a rule for physicians to prescribe exercise at every encounter with a patient, no matter what the problem was, because there was such a need to get and keep our people moving. It really takes the evidence, and I think that's one of the great things working with Endominance. We're trying to develop evidence in all kinds of sectors of the population to bring to the fore that exercise is a really potent medicine, if you will, a potent intervention that is available to everybody, and the side effects are all beneficial.
Can you give some ways that exercise outcomes can be measured?
Well, the best way is, especially when you're talking about a disorder or you're talking about exercise affecting the cognitive situation, that a good way is to evaluate on paper and pencil or on the computer or in interview with the health provider and explore what the changes have been, as well as cognitive evaluation, which is the COSAC, one of the Endominance tools, measures very nicely and can show, and we have shown the changes that a more steady diet of exercise brings about. So you need to use the clinical interview as well as some kind of standardized evaluation tool to show that exercise has a good effect.
Well, the truth is, even with all the studies on microbiome and the brain, there's still no research on the link between gut microbiota, cognitive orientation, and anxiety in humans. So why do you feel researching this link is very important?
Well, it's very important because we know that the microbiome is another avenue into exploring how we are healthy or not healthy and what we can do about it. With now many centers across the United States, across the world, are looking at the microbiome, and it will become part of everyone's awareness. It certainly dominated the press these days people are drinking kombucha and talking about probiotics and having yogurt and sauerkraut to positively affect our microbiome. It was not clear that we're doing that correctly, but it's on the way to uh, paying attention to yet another vehicle for us to be healthy. Friend of mine has just started at NYU Medical School a whole division looking at gut brain health. Now, this is, we tend to think of all health as being body centric, but this is also brain centric because we're finally realizing that the brain is part of the body. So the healthier we are, the more well we are as a person, the total person, the better our brain's going to function. And that impacts both cognitive ability as well as all the emotional changes and emotional issues that we might have. So for the future, looking at yet another way of measuring, impacting, figuring out that we could, change the constituents of the components of our microbiome can have an effect on everything: diet, our physical health, certainly our cognitive health, and our mood and anxiety and stress levels. So this is a very exciting moment and one that I think is going to bear much fruit.
Well, as you know, Endominance is conducting a research study to better understand the link between the gut microbiota, cognition, and anxiety in humans. To conduct this study, we're working with HEM Pharma and Gene one-on-one, who will be analyzing the microbiome data as well as using our cognitive tool, the COSEC assessment. So my question is, do you feel diagnostic tools like the ones that we're going to be using in our study can be helpful in advancing mental health research?
Absolutely. Make the body better, more well, has a big impact on our brain and thus on our cognition and mental health. And I think by using these measures that you've outlined, the microbiome, a measure that looking at the genes, looking also at in bodies inflammatory measures, which is a revolutionary way to look at inflammation and is something that we know impacts all of all living. That certainly the physical problems, but also the mental health problems that we have. The more we understand and use these measures to guide us to say, well, this strategy really works or not. This is the future. And I think all of us at Endominance are really excited about pushing forward our program so that we could help the world change, and all for the better.
Shifting gears a bit, I'd like to touch on some of the future research projects we're going to be working on together. One of our studies will be working with Dr. Jessica Brown on her PHASE program, where cancer patients use prescriptive exercise to reduce harmful side effects associated with the disease and its treatments. Not only will we be looking at the physical outcomes of exercise in our study, but the cognitive ones as well. So my question is, why do you feel looking at both the physical and cognitive outcomes of exercise and its effects during and after cancer treatment is important?
Yes, I mean it's very important. We can better understand how wellness impacts cancer rehab. Something so terrible, so worrisome, so frightening to people can be impacted by multiple avenues to make us more well. Certainly our big lever that we press all the time and will push people to is exercise. But there are the other components that Jessica Brown and her team have put together to push wellness on her patients in recovery from cancers, various cancers. And I think it just is exciting that we're working with her, and we will impact, I think, the future of how people with cancer will be treated, will be helped, and eventually, hopefully, change the insurers to help support these changes, these new programs of, actually old programs of exercise that we're going to show have an impact on inflammation, on the microbiome, on the cognition and emotional health of people participating.
Dr. Ratey, thank you so much for meeting with us today, and we look forward to many more exciting projects to come.
Yes, we're hopefully going to be showing that exercise is in fact the tonic, best tonic for our brain and its our emotions, our ability to think and remember, and to love. So with that, I'll say good night.